Hi, my name is Linda Cowles Murray, and I am the President and CEO of Anointed Community Services. And I am bringing to you today our lesson on building trust and teamwork. It's important for organizations to build trust among each other. And so when we talk about building trust, what do we mean? As a leader, what can you do to create a culture of trust within your team? Let's look at that today. Building trust. Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships together. The challenge of leadership is to create a culture in which everyone cares about each other and learns to trust each other as they contribute to the organization. Here are some traits that are needed to create a culture of trust. First of all, as leaders, we need to lead by example. If you want to build trust within your team, then lead by example and show your people that you trust others. This means trusting your team, your colleagues, and your boss. Never forget that your team members are always watching and taking cues from you. So take the opportunity to show them what trust in others really look like. Leading by example, number one, the first thing you do is you do exactly what you say. Your actions speak louder than words. When you promise to do something, follow through. And if you can't, explain to your team members why you can't do that. I liken leadership to a parent and a child relationship. And I often feel that in order for us to even know how God feels, oftentimes we exhibit that and experience that in our own homes with our children. Secondly, tell the truth. If you can't tell the truth, then keep quiet. You know, there's nothing worse than a dishonest person that looks you in the face and says one thing and says something else behind your back. That is not honesty. And as we want to exhibit the core values of this organization, honesty is one. So always tell the truth. Number three, be loyal. Many people don't realize what loyalty is. They feel as if it is honesty or integrity. But loyalty protects others when they are present and when they are absent. So there shouldn't be any room for backbiting. Loyalty is not a part of that. Number four, be competent. Know your job and know your team. The next one, be objective. Put yourself in the other person's shoes, and you will know how that person would feel if you did not trust them. Communicate openly as leaders and as managers and even as employees. Open communication is essential for building trust. You need to get everyone on your team talking to one another in an honest, meaningful way, and you can use several strategies to accomplish this. In our face-to-face meeting that we had concerning this topic, we talked about honesty, but honesty in love. Everything that we do should be done in love, and we should be considerate of the feelings of our colleagues. Get to know each other. One way to build trust is to encourage your team members to see their colleagues as people. Think about creating situations to help them share personal stories and bond. And I don't mean see them as people as if they were something other than that, but don't just look at them as an employee. They are individuals just like you. They have homes, they have children, sometimes they even have difficulties. And when you realize that, then you can have compassion on each and every one of them. Get to know them. Set aside a time maybe once a month, to have an informal group discussion, possibly over lunch if possible. There's nothing better than breaking bread with one another. There's a spiritual connotation there that bonds you when you break bread together. Loyalty to the team is essential. I pulled up you'll see it on the presentation, I pulled up a photo of, believe it was one of the animated cartoons, and the two young women were loyal to one another. Loyalty tells your team that you have their back and you'll protect them from the daggers of the enemy. So it's terrible to see that in a culture of distrust, you have daggers that are from within. People blaming other people, people shooting daggers at one another. This should not be. Loyalty protects the team. Don't place blame. That is, in essential, the same as backbiting or the same as daggers. I remember the story in the Bible where the men brought the woman to Jesus and said she needs to be stoned because she was caught in adultery. And I thought about that when I read it one day, and I thought, how did they know? They must have been in the same place that she was in order to know that she was in adultery. Oftentimes we place blame on others and we ourselves are guilty. So who lives in a glass house and who can throw the first stone? As we talked in the face-to-face meeting, I remember even as a mother raising my children, and I'm still a mother, but as raising my children, I used to have to often examine myself and remember that the things that I was telling my children not to do, I had to make sure I wasn't doing the same thing. That's why we have no room for blame or finger pointing. We should bring these things out to one another in honest communication, and we should be cognizant that we ourselves have been at fault. Work together as a team, as the ants do, to accomplish a job, to make the company succeed, to also make the company look good, and not be critical or judgmental. When people work together, honest mistakes and disappointments happen, and it's easy to blame someone who causes these. However, when everyone starts pointing fingers, it causes an unpleasant atmosphere. This lowers morale, and it undermines trust, and it limits productivity. So don't place blame. Discourage cliques. Sometimes people are often reluctant to talk to the leader because they feel that they're best friends with someone, or maybe one of the employees and two of the employees are best friends, and so the leader, the manager, may not feel comfortable talking to one of them because what of the situation of the clique that they're in. But discourage. Cliques should be discouraged. They can form within a team and can make people feel isolated. So begin open discussions about this with your team and engage in practice exercises to discourage cliques. Discuss your trust issues. Just like in a relationship, when one spouse begins to distrust the other, it needs to be brought out in communication. And they need to work together to find out, what am I doing to cause you not to trust me? Or is it just a perceived idea? The scripture tells us in Philippians, the 4th chapter, think on things that are lovely. Think on things that are of good report. And if there be any virtue, and there's a whole list of things it tells us, but if there be any virtue and there be any praise, think on these things. If your team has trust issues, find out how these problems arose, how they originated, and maybe do an anonymous questionnaire about trust in your team, and discuss this openly. What is teamwork? What does it accomplish? Each team member needs to feel like a partner in the organization and take ownership. When they are empowered, this happens automatically, and productivity and innovation is improved. What is innovation? It's the freedom to come up with new ideas, new ways of doing things, and you want that creativity amongst your team. The Bible tells us to go to the ant and consider her ways. It tells that in the text of being diligent, so that we would always be working and diligent and accomplishing things. But the ant has many traits that we can learn from. Never do you see an ant working outside of its team. They all have a common goal, and that is to gather food to take back to the queen. And you'll often see ants diligently working, 5 or 6 of them trying to pick up one cockroach or one other insect so that they can take it back to their house, their abode where the queen lives, and they can all live off of that animal, off of that insect. The attributes of an ant includes flexibility, communication chain. They're all communicating. I don't ever hear an ant. I don't know how they communicate, but they have a silent communication chain. Leadership. They automatically know how to take leadership. They have no set leader, but each one is a leader in their own right. And as teams, we all have to be a leader in our own right. They know how to plan. They get up. I don't know if an ant ever sleeps, but they plan. Where are we going? They can smell out the other insects, and they all go in a line going toward that insect. They all know, you pick up this end, I'll pick up the other. Let's get this insect back to our home. They have patience, and they have commitment. If you've ever looked on the ground and saw an ant and maybe took a stick and put it in its way, they'll learn to go around that. Sometimes they get a little confused, they'll back up, but eventually they figure it out, and the whole crew goes around that stick or that thing that's in the way. They have teamwork, and that's what we are trying to build within this organization. Leaders often build teams, and the challenge of leadership is to create a culture which everyone cares and contributes to the success of the business. Rather than just showing up for work or doing the minimum required, we need to find ways to allow people to use their intelligence and creativity in order to make decisions, solve problems, and contribute to the success of the organization. Leaders need to get the most out of their team, and in order to do that, you need to follow a simple method. There are simple things that you can do to get the most out of your team. Share information generously. Don't think, well, they don't need to know that. Yes, they do. Sometimes the group just needs to know what are the expectations and what are your intentions. What do you want to accomplish? And then give us the tools and we'll make it happen. That's the way each team member need to react. Address performance problems directly. Don't go and tell so-and-so that Susie John is not performing correctly. Address that performance problem directly. Encourage your employees to solve problems. Don't always stand and give all of the information needed to solve the problem. Let them solve it on their own. This empowers your team. As long as you know they have the competence to solve the problem, let them do it and report back to you. Provide training and development. And that's what we're doing through these videos. We're providing you with training and development to help each team member be successful. Share the responsibility. Share it widely. Listen. It's always imperative that each leader listen to their team. Have open dialogue. Don't be afraid to ask how you're doing as a leader. Receive their feedback and make changes. Think we. Don't just think I, but we. It's a team. The best leaders include people. Remember, consider the teamwork among ants. Ants will take an item and 5 or 6 of them will get that thing to where it needs to go. They work together in unison. The success of employees, people want to succeed. The vast majority want to feel good about themselves and their work. They want to make a difference to the company and to the lives of their customers, especially at new beginnings. We want to make a difference in the lives of the homeless, the disadvantaged, the veterans, the elderly, and you name it, the entire community of South Lake County. What discourages your employees are backbiting, intolerance, inconsistency, lack of communication, distrust, and confusion over their roles and responsibility. So we don't want to discourage employees. We want to encourage them. And in order to do that, the employees must be given loyalty, knowing that you have their back, that you trust them to do their jobs correctly. Communication, that you willingly and openly communicate with them about your intentions, about your expectations, about the success of the company, and also about the things that are not going well. Employees want your respect. Every leader, every employee needs to be respected. Managers need to be respected. If you're bringing into a new hire, a manager needs to be in on that. A manager should never be sideswiped or what is the word? I can't think of it right now, but a manager should always be informed about who's coming on to the team, especially if they're going to be looked upon to keep the time, keep the records, keep that supervision. They need to be informed. That's called respect. It disempowers a manager when they're disrespected, disempowers them, and also discourages them. What encourages an employee is trust. Your trust that they can do the job and they can do it well. By all means, that's why you hire them, because you believe that they are best suited for the job. At least that's why we should hire them. We should never hire out of desperation, but hire because you believe that that individual is best suited for the job. So trust them to do it and to do it well. Cooperate with them. If they disagree of something, ask why. And if they can explain to you a better reason or a better way to do things, consider it. Doesn't mean that you'll always take their advice, but at least let them know, I will consider your suggestion, but let them know it does not mean that I may choose that route, but I will consider it. And then team unity encourages employees. When an employee can come to work and they know that everybody's on that team working together, there's no backbiting, there's no discouragement there's no distrust, then that is encouragement of team unity. They can see the unity on the job and it encourages them. I believe that teams need to be rewarded. When employees effectively resolve conflicts, increase sales, or refuse negativity and complaints, they should be rewarded for their teamwork. A company lunch or gift certificates usually goes a long way to encourage them. What does the Bible say about a team? Well, in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter, the 9th through the 12th verse, it says 2 are better than 1, because together they can work more effectively. If one of them falls down, the other can help him up. But if someone is alone and falls, it's just too bad because there's no one to help him. If it's cold, 2 can sleep together and stay warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Two men can resist an attack that would defeat one man alone. And a rope of 3 cords is hard to break. We are better together than we are on our own. And we are better as a team than we are solo. The Bible also talks about teams in the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah, the 4th chapter. When the Israelites were rebuilding the wall in Jerusalem, the work got tough and they got discouraged. Finally, they just gave up. But Nehemiah reorganized the work into teams. Half would stand guard with their spears and swords and protect everyone, and the other half would work. And then they would alternate positions. Oh, what teamwork that must have been. If we would only alternate roles for a day. Let one be the leader and the other be the follower. Let one be the manager and the other be the subordinate. Wow, we would get a feeling of what it feels like to be in each other's shoes. Everyone, it takes a group. They often say it takes a village to raise a child. Teamwork is very important. So what did Nehemiah do? He posted everyone by groups and families so they could encourage and support each other. Teamwork is especially important. I want to open up for question and answers. I'm going to post something on the site so that you can feedback on our message board. You can write your questions and we'll send answers. And it may not all come from me. There may be answers from other leaders such as Keith or Dr. Al, Tom, Steve. But post your questions and we'll gladly answer. I'm so glad that you took out time to review this video today, and I hope that it's been a help to you in building trust and teamwork in your organization. Have a great day.